right, well, let's get started. It is 12 o'clock and we obviously have a lot of our colleagues coming in. Hey, Steph, we have a lot of our colleagues coming in, but we're going to go ahead and get started. As we say, we are closing on time. So with that being said, let's get started. Happy Tuesday. For some reason, today feels like Friday to me. I don't know why today feels like Friday, but it absolutely feels like Friday to me for some reason. I don't know. I don't know if it was preparing for this conversation, which I'm super excited about. And I know you guys are like, Nicole, you say this every week that you're excited about the topic, but I am. I am super excited about this topic. I'm excited about this topic because, guys, can I tell you a secret? Of all the things, of all the skill sets that you can have, building a business and knowing how to organize a business is one of the most valuable skill sets you can ever have. One of the most valuable, because you know what? Everybody doesn't know how to do it, right? Everybody kind of just doesn't have that capacity, like their mindset, which is just not their zone of genius. But when you know how to develop a system to operate a business and you know the fundamentals, you can take that skill and that expertise and you can layer it on any service, you can layer it on any product, you can layer it on any of those things and make it successful, make it profitable, right? At the end of the day, we're engaged in this real estate business for profit. I had a managing partner one time said, this is not a charity, right? And so whereas this is definitely fulfilling because of the end result of the work that we do, at the end of the day, right, the good feeling cannot pay our bills. The good feeling cannot pay our kids' tuition. The good feeling does not pay our light bill, doesn't pay our car bills, our car note if we have one, all those different things. And so at the end of the day, we are in this endeavor for profit. And so today is wrapping up our 6-figure Agent CEO business planning series. We're talking about business planning. We're talking about running a business. We're not talking about, hustle. We're not talking about, here's what I heard. This is about how to run a business. All right. And this is something that's near and dear to my heart because you guys have heard me say before, this is something that I also had to learn, right? I was a practitioner in both real estate and legal. But when it came to actually running the business, that was something that needed to be learned. And so I always run to the opportunity to share this information to hopefully cut someone's learning curve and get them into profitability sooner than later, right? So we've named these meetings Title Tuesdays. And so the mission of Title Tuesdays, if you've never joined us before, it was to provide a weekly coaching call for realtors. It was to discuss the latest trends and the need to know information to grow your business, right? At the end of the day, that's what it's all about. We talked about it before. We want to get into profitability. We don't want to just be in activity. We want to be in profitability. And so that's the purpose of these calls. And so I mentioned also that one of my favorite quotes is my own statement. This is my thoughts. This is my guiding light. This is my motivation. In my own personal life, it is my motivation when I develop conversations and courses and curriculum for my realtor colleagues. And that is when you encounter an issue that impedes your forward progress, you've not reached a dead end. You simply reach the extent of your knowledge. Everything is figure outable, right? And so when I get calls like, Nicole, the deal is done. This is it. There's no way this can be resolved. Yes, there is. There's a resolution. You just didn't know it. You had not learned it yet, but now you've learned it. And so whereas others will see obstacles, you now see opportunities, right? And so we ultimately understand that it is necessary to learn more in order to earn more. That's it. Once you hit a certain level, there's something else that I need to know. There's something else. I'm doing well here, or maybe I'm not doing well, but I know that in order to get to the next level, there's something that I need to know. There's something that I need to learn. And Everything that you need to know, guys, I promise you is out there. Is in a book, a person, a course, a movie. You just have to get in front of it. And so every week we come together to get in front of more information, more knowledge, more training to cause you to earn more. Now, at the end of the day, as I always mention that my team here, speaking of teams, my team here at Title Xperts, I always have to acknowledge them because they give me the grace each week to spend this time with you guys to have this conversation. And so I must give them a shout out. And for those who have not had an opportunity, if you're unfamiliar with Title Xperts, the sponsor of these weekly calls, we welcome the opportunity to work with you and give the opportunity to experience a Title Xperts closing. Here's the benefits and the differences of working with Title Xperts. We are an attorney managed firm. If you did not know, that title companies are not all attorneys, right? You do not have to be an attorney. And so the result of that is if you encounter a legal issue, those non-attorneys, they cannot give you any legal advice, right? As a matter of fact, it's a felony. It's a third-degree felony for a non-attorney to give you legal advice. And so those who are concerned about their criminal record and their financial wherewithal will not give you legal advice. They'll say, hey, you need to go talk to an attorney, bring that back to us when you get that resolved, and then we'll get you to closing. And so with us, obviously, we're able to manage all of that in-house. You do have the benefit of a dedicated closing team. When you work with us, it is important that we know that you know who you always are ready to speak with when you come into the office, when you call into the office, so that there's familiarity, right? You're not having to retell the story all over again. We know what's going on with your files. And then along those same lines, weekly status updates. Again, I always say, if you follow me on social, you know that we do a daily huddle with the team. And so with that being said, oftentimes, and here's the funny thing, you're not likely to see me on emails. My team does that. But if you were to reach out to me personally with the issue in your file, I bet I know about it because I participate in the daily huddles every day to provide that legal guidance in the closing process. So along with that being said, if the team wanted to send you a daily status update, they could do that as well, but we don't, that's a bit much. We'll send it weekly. In addition to that helpful closing, guys, I always say that most people don't really know what title insurance is. It's just a necessary part of the process. And so we hope to always make it as painless as possible by providing knowledge and training and little guides to say, hey, here's what's next. Here are your people. Here's what we do. And then finally, rush processing is available if needed. This is my front line here. This is my team. This is what they're the ones that make me look good. My partner and some of the team members that you speak with when you call in. This is like I said, this is the front line. These are the people that you speak with. There are some in the back that you obviously don't always speak to, but these are the ones that you will speak to. So in the event that you are going on the contract, you want to work with Title Xperts, send your new contract to contracts@titlexperts.com. General communication is sent to closings@titlexperts.com. Also, we are so proud of our cute little 800 number, 8665 Xperts, where you can reach us from anywhere in the US and internationally as well, probably. Never tried it, but I'm sure it works. So with that being said, for those who haven't had an opportunity to meet, my name is Ray Cole Jackson. I am the founder of Title Xperts. A little bit about my background. I am originally from Florida. I attended the University of Florida for undergrad. Go Gators. That's right, go Gators. If there are any no's in the room, you guys know, you always know, go put on your own call and you say go no's, but for now it's go Gators. I attended Santa Clara University in California where I obtained my law degree. And there I was the founder of the Real Estate Law Society. I've always been interested in real estate, guys. And so any space that I've ever been in, I've always been the one to want to lead the conversation concerning real estate. Once I moved back here to Florida, I attended the University of Miami School of Law while I obtained my LLM in real property development. That's essentially a specialization for an attorney in a particular practice area. And so that was a great joy to participate in that program. And I am a licensed Florida real estate salesperson. And so the reason for providing that background to you guys is to let you know that this is not our conversations, as most of you know, if you've ever been on our calls before, our conversations are not just from a legal perspective, never been in your shoes, never done a deal. This is been in your shoes, done deals before, still assist realtors with deals. My husband is a broker, so we're still dealing with the same issues that you are. And so with that being said, there's no question that you cannot ask. There's no situation that you are experiencing that we have not experienced or something similar. So have at it. Please feel free to ask all your questions. Now, with that being said, like I said, we are rounding out our business planning series of our short discussions we've had on various different topics. Today, we are talking about building a team. We're talking about building a team. And so when we talk about building a team, that's the reference that we use in the space of real estate. But ultimately, at the end of the day, it's about building out your business. When we first, that might have been our second call, we talked about business planning, right? And in that call, we talked about business structure. We talked about, setting up your LLC or your PA, whichever entity type you decided on. We talked about setting up bank accounts, right? We talked about getting your EIN number, right? So we talked about all those structural matters as it relates to setting up your real estate business. So today we're talking about staffing, right? So you've created the legal entity that operates your business. Now we're talking about the people. We're talking about the people in your business, right? So why build a team? Because most of you probably are operating. You can very well, if you so choose, to operate as a true solo agent, right? And when I say true solo agent, I'm talking about no TC, transaction coordinator, for those who are not familiar with that acronym. I'm talking about no transaction coordinator. I'm talking about no admin. I'm talking about no showing assistant. I'm talking about no person that you kind of partner with in your office when you take a vacation. I'm talking about you're operating as a true one and done, right? If I'm not available, it's not happening. And if you think about it, that's scary, right? I know it's scary. I know many of you, I'll venture to say 99% of you, if you're operating in that space, probably get anxiety sometimes because you're like, oh, if I go, then who's going to do this or who's going to do that? I'm only one person. And so I implore you to really think closely about this conversation as it relates to building a team. And then we're going to, as we go further into the conversation, you're going to see that it may not even be the type of team that you're thinking. There's some big teams out there, but you don't even have to go that far just yet. Let's just think about help, right? And also let's think about leverage. So why build a team? A wealthy and wise man by the name of John D. Rockefeller. Anybody ever heard of him? He is an American business magnate and philanthropist. He is widely considered the wealthiest American of all time and the richest person in modern history. He might be pretty smart, right? I mean, if this guy, he's the type of person, if he's speaking, you probably want to listen. He is the wealthiest American of all time, right? Of all time, based on where he was, because he's the founder of Standard Oil. And at one point, he was the owner of about 90% of the oil production in the US. And so John D. Rockefeller has a famous quote. He said, I would rather earn 1% off of 100 persons' efforts than 100% of my own effort. I would rather earn 1% off of 100 people's efforts than earn 100% off of my own effort. This is why you build a team / business. That's called leverage. That's called group economics, right? That's called me not working for every single dime that comes into the business. I would rather earn 1% of 100 people's efforts than 100% of my own effort. So here's the opposite of that. I so love this meme. Like I've had it for forever. It is absolutely hilarious. How many of you can relate to this? Let me see it in the chat. Here's Adrian. Adrian actually messaged me on this one this morning. If you can relate to this, can raise their hand. Yeah. Yeah. And Adrian just jumped in. Adrian messaged me this morning. She was like, this is so me. This is like, isn't it hilarious? Tearing my hair out. That's right, Ruth. When you do this, I've had this thing for years. When you do the admin, the paperwork, the showings, the prospecting, the follow-up, the accounting, and the crying all by yourself, this is what you do not want. This is what you absolutely do not want, because this is no freedom. Yep. And it's no leverage. It is no freedom. It is absolutely no leverage. Leverage is, you know what freedom is. I don't have to tell you what freedom is. Leverage, by definition, is Mr. Rockefeller's quote. Let's go back to it. It's you getting 1% off of 100 people's efforts, then 100% of your own. Leverage. Right? So here's what we got to accept. You guys probably, I'm sure most people have heard of the cash flow quadrant. So this, what you see on the screen, is the cash flow quadrant model. Now, this is a good conversation today, and probably not going to take very many notes, because one thing I want you guys to get, most importantly today, is the mindset and the thought process to implement this. We're going to talk about who, we're going to talk about some of the hows, but the first thing is to get the mindset to understand that this is not you. This is not the way it's supposed to be. So stop it. I know that's what a lot of people have done. I know that's what you're seeing. Historically, I know that's how the business, most realtors run their business, but you got to stop it. This will not last. You will burn out. Like Ruth said, tear your hair out. You'll be crying. You'll hate your business. You hate it. You will absolutely hate it for no reason. Well, not for no reason, but you'll be able to fix it. So here's what we need, why we need to start here. All right, let's start this lovely space right here. E. Most of us are not E's. What is an E? An E is an employee. You have a job. You're not anyone's employee, right? If you don't show up to work today, you just don't work, right? Because you're no one's employee. And so one thing I always say is that a lot of people get into real estate, they become realtors for the freedom. I want to do my own thing. I want to set my own schedule. I want to go when I want to go. I want to be where I want to be. Okay, that's fine. But guess what? That becomes a gift and a curse very quickly if you don't understand that along with that freedom comes responsibility, right? And so we can strike out this quadrant. And let's be honest, let's not miss, this is the poor side of the quadrant. The poor side of the quadrant are, I'm just gonna say, guys, employees. Now, it's a whole different conversation about how you can operate in a number of these different quadrants and thereby be rich, right? You guys know the theory behind, or the whole thing behind Rich Dad, Poor Dad. But the idea is that if you operate in a single quadrant alone on this left side, you're poor. So we're gonna jump out of the E quadrant. Most of us here are self-employed, not us. Strike that. I'm on your right side. We're going to get you guys to the right side. Most realtors are on the left side. They're self-employed. It's just by default. You're self-employed. You own a job. All of you own a job. What do I always say? When you get your real estate license, congratulations, you are now the CEO of your very own real estate business. Now, should be the asterisk next to that to say, if you operate it as a business. If not, you are now your own boss. You now own a job, right? You don't own a business, you own a job. And so this is what this conversation is about, sliding out of this. Then you shift over to the right quadrant. B, people work for you. I, and this is beautiful, This is the ultimate conversation, guys, that we must have when your money works for you. Real estate professionals, how do we not own real estate assets? How do we not own income producing property? Cannot be. Cannot be. So there's a conversation that we're going to have, guys, about this side of the quadrant. But let's flip really quickly. This is the cash flow quadrant. This is the book. And this is what we just talked about. Remember, you guys have already slipped out of the E quadrant. You don't have a job. You now own a job. You own a job. But after this conversation today, if you haven't already slipped out of this poor quadrant, we need to have a conversation. We're having a conversation about you slipping into this B quadrant. This is the right side, figuratively and actually, the right side of the quadrant to be on. The B is the business owner. You own a system that works for you. We talked about the systems last week before, where we talked about customer service. And we talked about the acronym of system, SYSTEM. Systems save you stress, time, energy, and money. Systems save you stress, time, energy, and money. You own a system that works for you. So even when you don't show up, the phones are being answered. The status updates are being sent to the client. The contracts are being reviewed. The inspector is still going out to inspect the property. You're in the office or not. Anybody have that right now? Few people have something like that. Guess what? We can always get better. That's one of the things I want to put a little asterisk right there. Don't ever, guys, don't ever think you figured it all out. I mean, the moment you stop learning is the moment you stop growing. Please don't ever think you figured it all out, because there's always something else to learn, and there's always somebody that's doing something just a little bit better or different than you. So always listen. And then finally, guys, like we talked about, once you slip out of this B quadrant, because you're going to take profit from your business and drop it into the investor. We talked about that last week. Now that we did talk about, we talked about profit sense, right? And we talked about making sure that you have sense of how to manage the profit, the revenue that comes into your business. Taking a portion of that and allotting it to an investment. It doesn't have to be real estate. I don't know why it wouldn't. You operate in real estate. That's right. The more you learn, the more you earn. That's slide number 3, right? Maybe 3 or 4 of our discussion every week. Doesn't have to be in real estate, but most of the wealth is generated in real estate in some form or another. I'm gonna tell you guys this, everyone's always going to need somewhere to lay their head. I don't care if you work from home, I don't care how many computers. Listen, even if jobs are replaced with computers, they need somewhere to house the servers. 4 walls and a roof is always going to be needed. So get off my soapbox on that particular point. But guys, remember, as we're shifting from S to B, keep an eye on the I quadrant. That's another conversation. So in shifting from S to B, again, you're shifting away from this. This is not a business. This is 100% self-employed. 100%. This is you own a job. You own all the jobs at that. You own all of them. So I know for some of you are saying, okay, Rachel, I get it. Like, I got to stop. This is not going to work. I don't know how I got started in it. I don't know why no one's told me this before. So I get it. So where do I start? So I want to introduce you to this book. You don't have to read the book. Go get it on Audible. If you are a reader, definitely read it. I would suggest that you read it. The book is called Who Not How. This is a radical thought process change. Guys, this is something that even I am listening to and reading right now, even again. The concept of the book is who can do this for me? Who can do this for me? Not how can I do this? Right? Who can do this for me? Not how can I do this? Because remember, we're trying to gain freedom and leverage. So when we do this, we start by replacing, you want to replace yourself in the tasks that are the least compensated per hour. What does that mean, Ray Cole? I got to go back to this graphic. This graphic ended up being just as helpful as more helpful than I thought. So let's look at all these lists of things to do. Admin, paperwork, showings, prospecting, follow-up, accounting, and the crying. And of course, there's a bunch of other lists of things to do. Of all the things that are done in your business to deliver the service to the client, which is the most least compensated for? That's where you need to start. That's where you need to start. Right? What is another word for that is, what is my highest and best use? What can no one else in my organization, in my company, my business do other than me or better than me? It may be because you're licensed and they're not. You guys know all about that. There's tasks that an admin can do and the tasks that they cannot do because they're not licensed. Start there, create a hierarchy. And guys, at the bottom of that list, you need to start striking. You need to start striking. Who can be doing this? Not how, but who can do this? So introduce you to the Millionaire Real Estate Agent. I know everyone's heard about this book. If you've never heard about this book, you need to go read this book. But can I tell you that, and I know this because I've read the book. This is not necessarily a book. I know for sure that you can read and implement on your own right away all the concepts therein, just simply because it's a little higher level because of all the things that is introduced, especially if you haven't been in the business. I mean, you guys will understand it because we've had this conversation. We've talked about business structure. We've talked about expenses. But if you've never, ever heard these concepts before, I think it can be a little bit foreign to you. And you may have to read it a couple times. But again, that doesn't mean neglect getting this book. I think every realtor should have this book. There's some stuff that's dated, for sure. But there are some fundamentals that you absolutely should understand. So what are some of the fundamentals? What are the main fundamentals from this book that we need to understand? And that we're going to rest here for a little while because we're talking about building a team. And so this graphic from the book is great for you to conceptualize. Remember we talked about all those different tasks that are completed in delivering the service. Which of those tasks falls into sales and marketing? Which falls into administration and processing? Break those out. The tasks, guys, that fall into administration and processing, those are the ones that you need to start striking immediately. That's not your highest and best use, maybe. I'll tell you why I say that later. But those are the ones you need to start striking. Paperwork. Answering calls, every call that comes in. And there's a way to do that. Information requests when the property goes on the contract. Why are you tracking your client down to make sure that they respond to our information requests? Why are you tracking down your client to make sure that they get a copy of their ID to our office? I know some of you are like screaming, like, I know, I hate it. Like, again, that's not what you should be doing. And so this graphic is showing you when you first start out, yeah, all of it is you. You and you. You are the, Adrian, you are the, what do they call it? Chief cook and bottle washer. You're everything. You're all things to all men when you first start out. But when you get to the second level, and this is actually 7 levels. If you guys ever seen this before, they're talking about when you hear the term seven level or 7 leveling out, This is what they're talking about. The first level is all you. The second level, it shows a first assistant. Now I'm gonna, in a couple slides, I want to talk about that because this is one variation that I would make in the hierarchy. And we'll talk about why in a second. And then when you get to the third level, you start bringing in marketing support, and they say transaction coordinator. So again, this is just a graphic for you to see how you progressively bring in help and build a team. And showing you where you should start. You don't jump out at, you know, a buyer's agent. I know you think you do, but you don't. We've learned that's more of a headache than you need, and you're probably not there yet. Not unless they're a partner. And again, that could be a little crazy. This is the 7 levels. I'm gonna give you a chance to see this. So it shows you going down to the 5th level, you start bringing in, 4th level, you start bringing in a buyer agent. And I'm sure you guys already know right now why you bring in a buyer agent, because listings bring leverage, right? You can work 3 times as many listings as you can do buyers. You're gonna max out at the number of buyers you can drive around. But a listing, you get a listing, and certainly in this market, you understand that all the activity comes to you. You're nearly limitless on the number of listings you can work. Listings work themselves if you set them up properly. Buyers, not so much. They're high maintenance, but they're a paycheck, so you can't just disregard them. You have to have a system in place, right? So as you're building your team, you're bringing in a buyer's agent. But again, remember, this is dated, guys, because now we talk about what? Showing assistance versus handing over your relationship and your whole client to another agent. You utilize that agent to show property for you because you're working with, you're showing another property or whatever you're doing. You're on vacation, you're at the spa for the day. This is leverage, right? So they go show those properties. The buyer comes back to you and you finish out the deal. So that's why I say there's a little bit of tweak here. But this is how you're thinking. Who can do this? Who can do this? Here was the first variation I talked about, the transaction coordinator. I would say the transaction coordinator, I'm gonna go back here because, why? Compensation. If you hire an admin, now you have a salary, right? What is that? That's whether you close a deal this month or not, that person needs to be paid. Versus a transaction coordinator, they are paid per transaction. Guys, again, this is very basic. If you don't have a transaction coordinator, please find one. Please find a transaction coordinator. You have to start here. You absolutely have to start here. And you only pay them when the transaction closes. So this is the first step in building your team. You've got to find a transaction coordinator. Guys, promise me if you don't have a transaction coordinator, you're going to go find one. Now, asterisk on this, the transaction coordinator does not replace your knowledge. I can recommend a transaction coordinator. Thought I had her brochure in here. They're not going to replace your knowledge. It's not exactly that. The transaction coordinator does not become the realtor once you go under contract. That's not how it works. The transaction is your assistant. They handle communication. They handle communication with the title agent. They handle communication with the lender. That's a separate conversation. I've told you guys before, if you've been in my contract class, you don't just let the lender go and do their thing and you check back in a week before closing to find out that they haven't done anything. Like, everybody needs a nudge. It's a crazy market right now, right? Here's some other considerations in building a team. This is great. So guys, listen, in my business, in my office here, all of my people are salaried. You guys can build such a ridiculous business off to get started, transaction fee based staff, and commission, right? Your buyer's agents, they're going to get commission. They get paid when you get paid, right? Does that feel better? They get paid when you get paid. Now, obviously there's some operating costs, but the heavy, guys, if you didn't already know, your biggest expense when you operate a business is going to be what? Payroll. Payroll is going to be your biggest expense. And so you're able to build a business under this realtor model with cutting payroll in half significantly. You guys should get excited about that. Because payroll, payday is exciting for a lot and stressful for others. But payroll, right, is going to be your biggest expense. Now, here are some other considerations when you're building a team. Training. Guess what, guys? You are the CEO. You are the head now of this organization. You're responsible for training. That's what it is. You got to, even though you're getting people to replace you, you should know how to do what they are hired to do. Again, not to the extent that you're better than them. No, that's not what it's for. Robert Kiyosaki, the same guy that wrote Cash Flow Quadrant, he said the people that I hire to work with me, they're geniuses in what they do. They run circles around me and what I've hired them for. But I'm pretty decent. I know what they should be doing, right? And so you're going to have to provide training to the people that you hire. You're going to have to train your admin. You're probably going to have to train some of your buyer's agents. You're going to have to train your marketing people, right? Until you get a replacement. Here are some other considerations. Management of these people and accountability. So you're replacing one responsibility for another. No, you're not having to run around and show properties. You're not having to do all the listing appointments. You're not having to do all the cold calling and prospecting, et cetera, et cetera. But now you must train, and now you must manage, and now you must make sure that everyone is accountable to their responsibilities. That's what it is. We're building a team, we're building a business. Now, here's a variation from the model that you see. I suggest that your admin, when you hire an admin, you have to be looking towards that admin being your operations manager. Because what? Who can do this for me? I work with, I've consulted with, I train top producing agents. Without fail, the rainmakers, guys, this whole organization thing, managing, accountability, it's like, please, like, I can't. If that's you, it's okay. If all this organization stuff is making you feel crazy, it's probably you, and it's okay. Here's what. Stay in your zone of genius. Stay in your zone of genius. And so when you're building your team, there are some things you're going to have to do. When I first started in my businesses, yes, I was that guy. I was all the things. That's not true. I always had an assistant. But outside of that, I was still all the things. But now I stay in my zone of genius. It's who, not how. There's a lot of things, of course, I can learn how to do it, but I don't like it. It's just not, I do not like it. So with that being said, we talked about building a team. Should you join a team? No one ever said that you had to build your own team yourself. How about you're building a team by joining a team? That will also bring you freedom and leverage. should I join the team? I definitely want freedom. I definitely want leverage. Ricole, I'm not interested in that seventh stuff. I'm not interested in managing a TC, an admin, buyer's agent, all those. That's not my thing. That is not my calling. That's not my passion. And that's fine. Maybe you should join a team. That's just like working for someone else. I don't want to be an entrepreneur. Maybe you jumped out here and you thought you wanted to be an entrepreneur, and this thing is kicking your butt. There's a such thing called an intrapreneur, meaning you are essentially entrepreneurial in someone else's organization. So you can still have freedom. You can still have freedom of production with under the umbrella and the safety of someone else's team. Look, team lead, I might not do 40. That's not my ambition, but I'm good for 20. I'm good for 20 deals a year. Like that's all I want to do. I only want to do 20. I think a team lead will be happy with that. They might try and push you a little bit further to 24. You should, because that's what they're there for, but you're good. Now, considerations when joining a team, we just talked about this. Operations support. Again, you're not responsible for the TC, the flyers going out, the signs, the this, the that. You're not responsible for training. They're likely to bring training to you. And you get to stay in your zone of genius. Recall, I love working with buyers. I know people hate them, but send them my way. I love it. I love it. I really don't like working with sellers. They always think that property is worth more than it is. I'm over it. I'm over it. But buyers, I love it. I go in, they're always happy. They're grateful, right? You get to stay in your zone of genius. Or you say, Rico, buyers, are you crazy? Buyers are liars, right? Isn't that what they say? That's not true, but buyers are liars. I need to work with sellers. I want to be a listing specialist. That's all I want to do. Stay in your zone of genius. Build your team. Your team is now the team that you join. That's a consideration. Listen, doctors, most, lawyers, dentists, all these different professions, what do they do when they graduate? Generally, they go out and they work with an experienced professional in that space. They do what they call apprentice. You're a junior something, and then you jump out and do your own thing. So that's a consideration. So the consideration for you today is based on where you are, where do you start? Again, there is a whole diversity of colleagues in the room. We have new agents, from new agents to brokers. Guys, but here's what's important. This whole concept of who, not how, everybody's at a different space. There is a broker that needs to find a who and not a how right now. There's a new agent that needs to find a who and not a how right now. So you just take from where you are and you start to find your freedom and find your leverage. All right? So that you're not being any questions? Who, not how. Who, not how. I have to find the brochure for the transaction coordinator. That's definitely a start. I will tell you that for sure. If you do not have a transaction coordinator, you absolutely need to start there immediately. That's the first thing you need to grab. And I'll be sure to share that information immediately. Cool. So no questions. So listen, for those of you who were on the call, I think, oh my gosh, 3 weeks ago, I told you guys that we were launching our AgentCEO Accelerator and Track Coaching Program. I told you guys that this was something that after a number of trainings, both on Title Xperts, Title Tuesdays, coaching and training at the boards and different offices, individual consultations, this is something that I knew for sure was absolutely needed for the agent population. So, and I mentioned to you guys 3 weeks ago, guess what, that it was that for our start date. So here's what you guys need to know. If you were on the call last week, you saw Jen. Jen gave us the call on profit sense. This training that we've come up with, listen, I know no other way to make a simple, if you're not making 6 figures in your business, you need to join. Period. No questions. If you're not making 6 figures in your business, you don't know and you don't know why, you need to join. If you're stuck and you're saying something's missing, but I don't know what's missing, you need to join. If you know what you should be doing, but you're not accountable, you need someone to walk with you through this thing, you need to join. If you're saying, Ray Cole, I need somebody to, here's the difference between, oh, we got a question. Since I'm newish, how does a team get paid? One person secures the buyer listing, but all involved in the team get portions of the commission once closed. No, that's a good question, Jackie. So every team's commission structure is different. It's definitely not the entire team. It's going to be you as the agent, and then the team entity itself will get a portion of the commission. Now, everyone's commission split is different. Some say if it's a lead that you brought in, you get a certain amount. If it's a lead that versus a lead that's given to you by the team, then it's a certain amount. Some just do 50-50 across the board. So the quick answer to that is whatever your agreement is. So you'd have to meet with the, when you are considering joining a team, you ask them, how am I compensated? And what do I get for this compensation? It's similar to joining a brokerage. At that point, you're in partnership, right? And so what is the trade-off for being on this team? Again, think about it, guys. There's a lot of things that need to be done in a transaction. And if you're able to not be responsible for ordering marketing, not being responsible for ordering signs, not being responsible for getting a closing gift, not be responsible for getting the information request to the title company, not being responsible, for all those different things, is that worth 50% of the commission? I'm just throwing a number out there. Might be something you want to consider. Again, entrepreneur versus entrepreneur. All right. Good question. So the coaching program, what's included? 12 weeks of small group coaching with the dedicated coach. Guys, I am going to tell you that the coaching program is going to replace this hour. My schedule is packed. So the coaching program, once it launches on October 5th, it's in about 2 weeks, it is going to replace this hour. And it is going to be a small group coaching. Here's the difference. When you come on here, you listen, and whether or not you have questions, let's use, for example, Jackie's question. I answers Jackie's question. She may have a follow-up question, probably wants to see more about that. It's kind of not the venue for that. Coaching is done with you. Coaching is done with you. Training is just information. You implement it. I hope you do. If you understand, I hope you do. But training doesn't have the responsibility for ensuring that gets done. Coaching does. And so I see from the follow-up, I see from the questions, I know what got me to where I am today. I feel 100% accountable to make sure that you guys get results. And so it's 12 weeks of small group coaching. There's weekly breakthrough coaching with all agents that are in this program. So understand that Track is a nationwide program. So our AgentCEO Accelerator is going to be our small group. We have our coaching at 12. There's also a group coaching, a national breakthrough group coaching at 2 p.m. every Tuesday that you can also participate in, where we discuss a different topic. Today's topic is actually scripting, right? There's a workbook. I showed you guys this workbook. You can order the workbook, or you can download the workbook. But it's a workbook that's going to take us through our 12 weeks. There is 2294. 5 is the fax number. 2294 is the office number. Yes, I am a trainer for the course along with another coach. There is a Facebook group that we'll have for our follow-up our discussions, weekly challenges and downloads. You can sign up at theagentceo.com. I'm going to show you the site in a second. Good question. So this is what we look like. This is what the 12 weeks looks like, broken down. Yes, 1 hour, Anne Marie. This is what the 12 weeks will look like. right? We're starting off with our Legion. We talked about marketing, time management, scripts and role play, using social media. Guys, scripts are so important. You got to learn how to communicate. I'm even coached on communicating. As an attorney, we're coached on how to communicate, how to portray an idea of thought, right? Scripting, I can never tell you how important that is. Working with listings, working with buyers, open house, everything. This is productivity for your first 12 weeks. This is where you join. Go to the website, theagentceo.com. Now, also, if you were on here 3 weeks ago, how much did I tell you that this program is, guys? For sure. It is $500 just for the productivity coaching. By itself, it's $500. With our relationship, knocked it down to $97 per month. Now, this includes, like I said, your productivity coaching, your books, all the things that we just talked about. You should go and join now. We are going to start October 5th. October 5th. Okay. Make sure I mute somebody really quickly. All right. So along with that, again, and here's the other thing. We timed it. I specifically timed it so that once you hit these 12 weeks, I'm sure you guys already know, I'm sure you're feeling it. You're cashing checks today for work that you did 30, 60 days ago. This is timed, you guys, to catapult you into 2022. This 12 weeks will end the last week in December. It's all strategic. So in closing, our closing thought, you cannot drift into success. You have to commit yourself to getting there. You can't drift. You can't just wake up and like, oh, I think I'm going to hit 6 figures. No, no, it doesn't happen like that. This is purposeful action. This is purposeful and consistent action. You have to commit yourself to getting there, and committing yourself to getting there, it comes along with accountability. It generally comes along with people supporting you. It comes along with getting uncomfortable, right? It comes along with doing things that you have not done before. If you do what you've always done, you're going to get what you've always gotten. So consider that. If you're happy with where you are and have no desire to move forward, then stay there. But if you know that there's growth, that there's more that you can be doing, then you need to commit to the necessary tasks and responsibilities that will get you there. You can't drift into success. You have to commit yourself to getting to that. The last thing I'll say, I'll think about, I think I mentioned this to you guys before, that I was sore one day in the gym, and I was like, oh my God, just wait, just give me a minute. And the trainer said, that's not what you came here for, right? Like, you didn't come to not get results. Like, I could let you just lay here on the mat and then you'll be mad at me that you didn't get your results, but you came to get results. You guys came to get results. And so this is how we're going to get results. You're not going to drift into it. You are going to commit yourself to it. $97 a month. It is a 12. The start, Anne-Marie, good question. Start is 12 weeks. It's 3 months for this productivity portion of it. But beyond the first 12 months, the first 3 months, we continue, there's, oh my God, we continue to go into not just business development, because again, we have more conversation about, remember we talked about the business and the I quadrant, all those things that essentially real estate school didn't teach you. We have to get in there and get it. I feel responsible for some reason. I don't know why I feel like this, but I feel responsible for making sure that this information is available for people to succeed. I get so many questions like, oh my God, I never knew. So when I find something that I know works, not afraid to share it. Lastly, next week, your 12-week year. Your 12-week year. That's our topic next week. We're going to talk about how to set ourselves. Listen, we are at the end of September, guys. We're at the end of September. Can you believe it? We are at the end of September. We are coming up on the 4th quarter. We are coming up on the fourth quarter. And what you do, what you get in the fourth quarter, that's based on what you've already been doing. Guess what? You're marketing, you're prospecting, people who you've gotten their attention, sellers that you've been priming, buyers that you've been priming. Those are the checks that you're going to cash in the fourth quarter. Now, what you're going to be cashing in the first quarter of 2022 is going to depend on what you do in the fourth quarter of 2021. So next week, we're going to talk about your 12-week year, because you're going to get prepared for 2022 during these next 12 weeks. Yes, they'll be recorded. They'll be recorded for those who may have a scheduling conflict. All right. That's it, guys. 12:56. If there are no other questions, I'm excited. I'm excited for you. And I look forward to seeing you next week. Again, if you have any questions at all, feel free to reach out. The website is up, www.theagentceo.com. If you have any questions about it, feel free to email support. That's SUPPORT @theagentceo.com. You're welcome. You are welcome. If you have any questions at all, email support @theagentceo.com, and the program assistant will respond to you. We got a team. You're welcome. See you guys next week. See you later, Angie. Angie gets perfect attendance. Jackie too. Hey, Broker Hayes. You're welcome, girlie. See y'all later.